Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here today. Of course, today's a little bit more special than usual. It is, number one, it's Tuesday, so it's Star Wars Talk Tuesday, which is always great. So Star Wars Talk Tuesday is coming up a little bit later, but also today, the review embargoed of Star Wars The Last Jedi lifted. I, of course, did a special live 9 a.m. review of the film. That's up on my channel, so after this video is done, you can go over there and check out my review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. A little bit of the highlights. It's wonderful. It's magnificent. It's holding a 96% of Rotten Tomatoes right now. I don't know if that'll go up or go down. I thought it was a spectacular movie. I loved a couple of things I didn't like about it, but I mentioned those things in the review a little bit earlier, so you can go and check that out a little bit later. All right. With that out of the way, here's how today's show is going to go. I have picked out 5 topics that you guys have sent in to me. Now, how do you email in a topic or a question to the John Campea Show? It's real simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put that word topic in the subject line, or else I'm not going to see it. And of course, guys, as always, keep those emails to 90 words or less, or else it's just too long for me to even fit on the screen. Now, after that's done, after we're done the first half of the show, we're going to go into the second half of the show. Will just be your guys' live questions. For those of you who are watching live, I do the show every day live, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. And of course, I do it on Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. Now, there's 2 ways you can get a live question on. The most efficient way is to send in a super chat, because I get through all the super chats, so you can do that. Also, if there's still time left at the end of the show, I will go to Twitter. I'll tell you how to tweet in a live question a little bit later on. And I will get to the super chats in the order that they come in on. All right. Whew, with all that out of the way, I've already had a long day. I got started at like 6 o'clock this morning, so let's get going here. The first question today. And the first question today comes to us from Tyrone Moore. And Tyrone Moore writes, what are the chances this Disney deal with Fox is actually going to happen? From what I understood, the only thing that was holding it back was that Universal was in talks for it too. But they're saying Universal is out now. So what's the holdup? Is this just all a lot of posturing? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Tyrone. And of course, one of the big topics of discussion over the past, couple of weeks now has been that Disney has been in talks with Fox to buy a number of Fox's assets, including their movie division, a bunch of the television stuff too. Fox is still going to exist. Fox is still going to be its own entity. It's just that Fox wants to focus more on business, news, and sports. So they're selling off a lot of their other assets, if you will, and they're looking for a buyer. Now, in the past couple of weeks, the 2 main people they've been talking to are Disney and Comcast, which owns Universal Studios. So those have been the main players involved. As of yesterday, Comcast officially announced that they are no longer in talks with Fox, which means now Fox is looking to sell, and apparently there's just one buyer interested, and that is Disney. Now, of course, I'm sure one of the things that spoiled the deal for Comcast is the fact that even if Comcast bought a whole bunch of Fox's film division, they couldn't get the X-Men, because Fox only has the license for X-Men, and they can't transfer that to somebody else. It can only go back to Disney. If Fox isn't using it, it can only go back to Disney. So I'm sure that made the appeal of the whole purchase a little bit less for Comcast at the same time. So that probably was one of the reasons. They didn't say that officially, but I'm guessing that's one of the reasons it didn't really work out for them. So now all that leaves is Disney. So Tyrone is asking, well, then why don't they just announce that Disney's bought it? Remember, there are still a million details to work out. A million details to work out. So they may already in principle come to an agreement, but now you got to work out the 10,000 details. Like, a lot of people have been asking a lot of questions about this deal. Like, well, what does it mean for the television show Gotham? Gotham is clearly based on DC characters, but it's on Fox. Can Disney take Gotham, and Disney, the owners of Marvel, put a Fox show or put a Gotham DC-based show on their networks? Stuff like that. What happens to, I don't know, Avatar? What happens to Kingsman? What happens to, there's a million details that I'm sure they have to have armies of lawyers go through with fine-tooth combs to make sure they all get everything right to the satisfaction of Fox and to the satisfaction of Disney. And you're talking about a price tag of $60 to $70 billion. $60 to $70 billion. That, it doesn't matter if you're Apple, it doesn't matter if you're Disney, that is a huge ass load of money. That is a giant sum of money. So you can bet your ass they're going to make sure they have every T crossed, every I dotted. They're going to have every detail of this thing worked out properly before it's all gets signed, sealed, and delivered. And look, I'm sure they've been working on it already. And I feel actually pretty confident we'll probably hear something within the week. But I'm just saying is we can't just expect, well, Comcast is out. Okay, announce the Disney deal. Lots of details to work out. That's probably why we haven't seen that come through yet. Thanks a lot for the question. Let's move on now to the next question. And the next question comes to us from Sanjay Parikh, who writes, "It feels like the industry watches your show. Earlier today," you're probably talking about yesterday, Sanjay, when Sanjay emailed this in. "Earlier today, you were mentioning that people were getting carried away with the whole Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine in Avengers, and that Jackman never actually said that. Now, tonight reports are coming out that Jackman is now confirming that he won't be back. What do you think about this?" So thanks a lot for the question. And for those of you who don't know what Sanjay is talking about, if you didn't watch the John Campea Show yesterday, which you should be watching it every single day. Anyway, if you didn't watch the John Campea Show yesterday, one of the topics that we brought up was, look, there's all these reports going around. Jackman said, I mean, we all remember Hugh Jackman said that he would come back as Wolverine if it was in Avengers, and that was leading to that misunderstanding was leading to a lot of people and a lot of reports going around that, hey, could Hugh Jackman be in Avengers 4 then? Is Hugh Jackman's going to be in Avengers 4? Because Hugh Jackman always said he would come back if Wolverine was in the MCU. And one of the things that we talked about yesterday was that Hugh Jackman never said, ever did he say, that he would come back as Wolverine if Wolverine ends up in the Avengers. What he did say once in an interview with Cinescape was that, hey, when I was contemplating retiring, had I thought that Wolverine could be in Avengers when I was contemplating retiring, maybe that would have given me pause. But that's the thing. It wasn't an option when he was contemplating it, and he made his decision. And then in the same interview a little bit later, he just clarified. Because the person asked him, so you're done as Wolverine? He goes, yes, I'm done. And they said, are you absolutely sure? He said, yes, this is it. So he clarified that, but still people ran with this misinformation that Hugh Jackman said he would come back if they were in Avengers, and he never said that. Now, that doesn't mean he couldn't change his mind. Of course he could change his mind. Absolutely he could change his mind. Well, apparently while doing press for his upcoming film, The Greatest Showman, which, by the way, I've been listening to the soundtrack of The Greatest Showman for the last couple of days. It's spectacular. I cannot wait to watch this movie. Anyway. So he was doing press tour for The Greatest Showman. And somebody, of course, brought that up. Hey, you know, it looks like Disney's getting the Fox properties back. It looks like Disney's getting the X-Men. You're going to come back? And he basically said, no, that ship has sailed. He goes, I'm looking forward to somebody else going in and playing Wolverine doing it. So it looks like we could put this whole thing about Wolverine or Hugh Jackman coming back to play Wolverine in an Avengers film. It looks like we can put that to bed. Again, none of this means that in 2 months Hugh Jackman couldn't change his mind. That's sure, anything's possible, absolutely. But he never said he would come back to play Wolverine if it went back to Marvel. He never said that. And now he's saying that he's confirming his time is done. He's looking forward to seeing somebody else play it. So there's that. So it looks like we can probably move forward. And again, the thing I brought up on yesterday's show is, if you're Disney and if you're Marvel, why would you want Hugh Jackman in it? If you're starting off X-Men now in your MCU, why start off Wolverine with a guy who's probably only going to play it once, and then you got to recast him anyway? So what would be the point? So I'm thinking, if I was Kevin Feige, I mean, if Hugh Jackman wanted to commit to a 4-film deal, sure, but Hugh Jackman has no desire to work out 3 times a day anymore. He's done with that. So the odds are maybe you could give him back for 1 movie, but if you're Kevin Feige, why would you want him back for 1 movie and then you have to recast him again anyway? It doesn't seem to make sense. So it looks like, on the surface, it looks like we can put that whole thing to bed. It looks like Jackman himself is now confirming that he's done with the role. And now we can start the endless speculation about who will be the new Wolverine. And that's going to be fun too. All right, let's move on to the next question. And this next question comes to us from Margot Ivanovich, who writes, like most people, I loved Creed. and was a bit disappointed when I found out that Ryan Coogler wouldn't be directing the sequel. Then I got excited again when Stallone was going to direct it. But now I'm hearing he's not anymore, and some new guy is. Should we be worried? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Margot. And yeah, so there's been some drama surrounding this. Look, Creed, I'm sure most of you guys will agree with me on this. That first Creed movie was awesome. Creed was fantastic. I love that movie. Michael B. Jordan was fantastic in it. Sylvester Stallone was obviously fantastic in it. Ryan Coogler did such a good job directing that film. Of course, now he's off directing Black Panther. So he's busy at work finishing that film up. And they're going to start shooting Creed pretty soon here. So they realized they needed a new director. That sucks that Ryan Coogler's not directing it. But then they get Sylvester Stallone. Stallone, who has directed all the best Rocky movies. Like Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, he directed those. Rocky Balboa, he directed. I mean, he's great at directing Rocky movies. And clearly, he's been very excited about it because he's been on social media tweeting out notes and ideas and that, all this kind of stuff. Clearly, he's been into it. That's why it kind of caught me really off guard yesterday when the news broke that Stallone was no longer going to be directing Creed, or Creed 2, I should say. Now, he put out this statement that said, hey, you know, Adonis Creed really needs to be the voice of his generation, so it's important that we get a director who is a part of this generation, just like I was a part of my generation when we made the first Rocky films. And the official report is saying that Stallone and Michael B. Jordan themselves picked the new director. And the new director is this new guy by the name of Stephen Campea Jr., who has never directed a major film before. He had a film that played, I believe, at Sundance once, but he's never directed a major studio film. So he's a relative newcomer, which is fine. I mean, it's not like Creed 2 is going to be a $150 million movie to make, right? So I have no problem with a new director cutting his teeth on a film of this scale. That's fine. That's great. But I'll admit, I'm a little bit bummed out that Stallone... Also, I'm going to say right here, I have nothing to back this up with, but I don't believe that Stallone himself decided not to direct this film. I don't believe it. He just seemed far too enthusiastic on social media about doing this film. He seemed far too excited about it. And this whole thing about the studio really just let Stallone and Michael B. Jordan, the actor, pick the director? I don't know that I buy that. To me, it sounds like for some reason the studio didn't want Stallone directing it. And they decided to let him save face by saying, oh no, Stallone chose to step down and he's going to pick the new director and have him put out all these comments. It just seems a little too convenient and a little too tidy, which, I mean, I don't know. Who knows what happens there? It just seems to me like Stallone was really super excited about doing this movie. And then all of a sudden, no, I'm not the right guy to direct it. Really? All of a sudden, when you're just now a couple of months from starting shooting this damn movie? This movie comes out in November. The movie comes out in 11 months. And just now you just decided, oh, wait a minute, I don't really think I'm the right guy to direct it. Really? Now you decide that? So I don't know if I buy it. Again, I'm not basing that on anything. I have nobody from any studio has given me insider scoop on this or anything like that. It just seems like a very odd situation to me. Now, you're asking, Margot, should we be worried? I don't think we should be worried. I mean, look, Stallone still wrote the script, so you know it's going to have that there. And it's still got Michael B. Jordan. And Ryan Coogler is still going to be signed on as an executive producer. He's going to be working closely with the film as well, even though he's not the director. So I don't think there's any need to be worried. I am disappointed. One, that Coogler's not directing. Two, that Stallone's not directing. I'm disappointed, but I don't think we have anything to worry about at this point. I think everything's going to be fine. I really do. All right, thanks a lot for the question. Let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Martin Gleason. And Martin Gleason writes in, I think Seth Rogen can be the next Steve Carell or Jim Carrey, a comedy actor who turned out to be really good at acting in general. What are your thoughts on him as an actor and the news that he'll be playing Walter Cronkite in the JFK assassination movie? Thanks a lot for the question. And you know, it's really funny because we just got off seeing him in, well, actually, I don't know that the movie's open wide release yet, so maybe you haven't had a chance to see The Disaster Artist yet. He's so good at The Disaster Artist. He's so good in The Disaster Artist. Disaster Artist is going to get some Academy Award buzz. both as a film, best director for James Franco, maybe best lead actor for James Franco. Who knows? I don't know if they're going to get all those nominations, but there's certainly going to be some buzz for them getting it. And you know, I've heard some people even whisper Seth Rogen is best supporting actor possibility. I don't think that will necessarily happen. I don't think that will necessarily work. I don't think he'll get a best supporting actor, but he's great in it. And you know what? We've been seeing Seth Rogen doing a little bit of dramatic stuff here and there. And you know what? I completely agree with you. I think Seth Rogen has the makings to be a funny man who can also really bring it in dramatic roles. Can he do it to the level of a Steve Carell or a Jim Carrey? I think he can. I think the possibility is there. And him being announced in this new movie, well, I can't remember the name of the film that they were talking about. Actually, hold on, let me bring it up. The name of the film is going to be called Newsflash. And if I understand it right, it's going to focus around the day that John F. Kennedy was shot and two big events that Walter Cronkite did. One, announcing to the world that JFK was shot, and then two, breaking in again to announce that he had died. And from what I understand, the movie focuses around that day, and Rogen's playing Cronkite. I never would have guessed him playing Cronkite. I never would have pegged him playing a role like this. So if you said to me, hey, John, we're making a movie about the JFK assassination, and it's going to be about Walter Cronkite and how he brings the news to America and all the events that happened that day, who do you think could play Walter Cronkite? Never in a million years would I have said Seth Rogen. But then when it was announced it was Seth Rogen, I went, you know what? I think I'm on board for that. I think that could really work. If nothing else, it'll tell us a lot about Seth Rogen and can he actually do what I think he can do, which is be that next Steve Carell, be that next Jim Carrey, be that next comedy guy who shows that he can really bring it in dramatic roles as well. I think he can do it. And never mind the fact that he and I had a bit of a Twitter fight the other day. I think he's great. I do. And I think he has that kind of level of talent. And I think he can bring it. And I think he will. So I'm excited for it. Let's see what he does. All right. Thanks a lot for the question. We move on now to the final email question of the day. And the final emailed in question today comes to us from Jonathan Barr. And Jonathan Barr writes, always enjoyed your views on the entertainment industry. Thank you so much, Jonathan. It's all but pretty much confirmed that Disney will be getting Fox's media properties through the deal. But one thing I think needs to be addressed. Fantastic Four is actually licensed to Constantine Films, not Fox. Fox, I think, is the distributor, which I think when Disney gets Fox's library, Fantastic Four won't be a part of it. Am I right? Does this mean Disney won't be getting Fantastic Four back? All right, thanks a lot for the question. And if you guys have been watching my show for any period of time, you know that every time this has come up lately about Constantine Film and their role in the Fantastic Four and what rights they hold, what I've said over the past couple of weeks is, okay, guys, look, it's a long thing to go into. I don't want to go into it right now, but it's a little bit complex, like the way Universal's rights with the Incredible Hulk are. It's kind of a situation like that, and we'll go into it another time. Well, now it's becoming a bigger issue because a couple of major websites yesterday, understandably so, a couple of major websites ran stories basically suggesting that, you know, hey, Fox, Disney may not, even if Disney buys all this Fox assets, they may not get Fantastic Four. And I'm here to tell you that that's very unlikely. It's very unlikely. Here's the Coles notes of it, okay? Here's the basic thing. So going back when Marvel was going through all their bankruptcy struggles, right? So Constantine Film gets the rights to do Fantastic Four. Great. They struggle with getting it done in time. They have a rotating clock that they have to be in production of a new Fantastic Four every couple of years, or else the rights reverse back. They were running out of time, so they just desperately made that horrible Roger Corman Fantastic Four just to set the clock. Anyway, then their clock was running out again. So what they did is they entered into an agreement and a partnership with Fox to get a new Fantastic Four movie done to make sure they beat the clock. They got an extension granted to them from Disney because they actually weren't going to beat the clock in time, but Disney gave them an extension, and we ended up getting those Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, which were terrible. But it was in that cycle that Constantine and Fox entered into a deal where Fox got some of those rights. Now, what has never been public knowledge to the best of my ability is in what way was that deal structured between Constantine and Fox? Some people speculate, and it's only speculation, some people understandably speculate that Constantine kept the production rights of the movie, which means you as a studio have a right to make that movie. And Fox got the distribution rights, which means you as a distributor, you guys have the rights to actually put the movie in theaters. Those are two parts of two sides of the very important coin. You got to have production rights and you got to have distribution rights. However, it's never been publicly confirmed that that's the way they divided it up. It is very conceivable. I was reading one legal opinion on this, that it is very conceivable that Constantine just went into a 50-50 deal with Fox. That Fox partially owns the production rights, and they also own the distribution rights. Constantine owns part of the production rights. They're not interested in being a distributor, per se. So one way or the other, Fox is one of the owners of this license. They are. One way or the other. However you want to divide that pie up, Fox is one of the license holders, and so is Constantine. But the reason that I don't think there's any possibility here that Fox, and I hope I'm walking through this slowly enough, but is that Fox is the only real player. Constantine Films isn't even really that interested in making feature films anymore. Fox is the holdup. Constantine Films isn't the holdup. What is 99% likely to happen here is if Disney goes ahead and they do end up acquiring all those Fox rights, they will get Fantastic Four, and then they will very instantly and very quickly make a quick deal with Constantine to get their part of the rights away from them, because Constantine, according to all reports, aren't even interested really in making feature films anymore. So Disney will get the hard part done, which is getting part of the Fantastic Four rights from Fox. That's the hard part. The easy part is going to be, once they have that, then get on the phone with Constantine Films, working out a quick deal to get their part of the rights back, because they don't even really want them anymore or need them anymore. So, yes, it's true that at least part of the rights still are with Constantine Films. Part of them are also with Fox, and Fox is the hard part, not Constantine. If the deal goes through with Disney and Fox, I believe it'll be very quick and very pain-free, that they'll make a quick deal with Constantine Films that don't even want them, and they'll get the rights back, and it won't be a problem. So I really don't see a realistic scenario here in which Disney does not get the Fantastic Four back. I think they are definitely getting them back. Of course, there's something strange could happen for sure. That's always a possibility. But barring the completely unforeseen odd thing happening, I really don't think there's much of a hindrance to the path of Fantastic Four coming back to Marvel and Disney. I would put all my money on it. I really would at this point. So it seems like that is the most likely scenario. Anyway, I hope I didn't just make the situation more confusing. I hope I actually cleared that up a little bit and didn't confuse it anymore. Let me know, guys. What you think about that in the comment section below. All right, guys, that will do it for all the emailed in questions today. Thank you to everybody for sending in those emails. We now move into the second part of the show, which is taking your live questions. I know a whole bunch of you guys are watching live right now. Two ways to get your live questions on. The safest way is to use Super Chat, because I will go through all the Super Chat questions. And if there is still time left after about a half hour, then I will go to Twitter as well. Now, before I get to those, though, it is that time of the show for my 1-minute commercial break, where I do my admittedly shameless plug for the one thing that keeps the lights on around here, which is, of course, my Patreon supporters. So here we go. We'll be back in just 1 minute. Check this out. For those of you who have followed me for any period of time, you guys know that I made the decision recently to leave the corporate overlords. I no longer wanted to work for corporations. I wanted to be an independent content creator. And the only way I've been able to do that is by the support of my Patreon supporters. So what I would like to do is to ask you guys who watch my shows, who spend any amount of time with me every single month, to consider going over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get all the information about what exactly does it mean to be a Patreon supporter of mine. What does being a Patreon supporter do for helping to make sure that shows like this one and all the other shows I do here on my channel can actually be produced? And on top of that, what benefits are there to being a Patreon supporter? And maybe if you guys can check that out, if you decide you want to be one of my Patreon supporters, that would be awesome. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. I'm just happy that you guys have decided to be here today and be a fellow movie fan and join us in the conversation. So go and check out the website, see if you want to become a Patreon supporter. And now let's get back. All right, guys, again, a special thank you to all of you guys who are already Patreon supporters. I can't emphasize enough, you guys are the ones who make this show even possible. Okay, with all of that out of the way now, let's get over to the live questions that you guys have been sending in, and we start this one off with Adam Douglas, who writes in, you didn't rank The Last Jedi in your live review. Where does it sit in your personal rankings? Number 4? Actually, Adam, what I said in my live review is, I need to see it a couple more times. Look, I can definitely say this. I think right now I'm ready to put Star Wars The Last Jedi obviously above the prequels, and this bowl of dice. This is my role-playing game dice. My bowl of dice right now ranks above the prequels, but it definitely ranks above all the prequels, and I'm ready to say that I'm ready to rank it above Rogue One, and I loved Rogue One, and I'm ready to rank it above The Force Awakens as well. Does it crack the top 3 of the Holy Trinity of the original Star Wars trilogy? I don't know yet. I need to see it a couple more times. So right now, sure. For now, I'll say it fits into number 4 for me, but that could climb. It could climb. So I'm not ready to definitively say where it falls in the rankings for me just yet. Thanks a lot for the question. Let's see. TJ Thomas writes in, Jar Jar Binks and the Quest for the Missing Midichlorians trilogy by Ryan Johnson. Paced like the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Is that better than yesterday? Oh my God. Look, one of the things I will say that I'm super, super thrilled about is no Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars The Last Jedi. Spoiler, Jar Jar Binks does not make a triumphant return in Star Wars Last Jedi. Hope I didn't just spoil the movie for y'all. All right, what's next here? Ben Rayner is writing, favorite montage in movies other than Rocky? Well, I mean, there's, I guess you can go the original Karate Kid with him training and also getting through the tournament. That's a great montage. I mean, Rocky is the king of the montage movies, really. So, you know how it goes, Ben. Anything that's like, what's your favorite blank of all time? It's something I'd probably have to sit down and think about. The one that's hitting me off the top of my head is Karate Kid, but if I really thought about it, maybe I'd come up with some other ones. Best of the Best also has great montages in it as well. So I'd have to think about that one. Manuel Fernandez writes, with 2017 wrapping up, what's your favorite TV show that premiered this year? For me, it's either American Gods or Glow. Really liked American Gods. It took a while for American Gods to grow on me. I didn't love the first bunch of episodes, but it started to grow on me by the time I got to the season finale. Glow, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed Glow. But you know what? I'm actually going to say Fox's show, The Gifted. I'm surprised how much I'm really into that show. I am really quite enjoying that show a lot. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's connected, well, it's sort of connected to the X-Men universe. I'm really impressed with the performers in it. Even the child actors, I think, are really good. It's got a really nice mythology to it. I'm digging it. I'm really liking the show so far. Let's see. Jacob Leaf writes, a DCEU reboot seems unlikely. I want to believe that winning cures everything, so how many wins do you think it would take to cure it? I love the DC films, and I long for them to be successful again. Yeah, me too, man. I just want them to be successful. And the reason you keep hearing me scream and holler for a reboot is because I want them to be successful. And look, it just is what it is. You have a higher chance of being successful if you reboot. Because, look, Justice League isn't even going to make $650 million. The fact that Justice League is going to make less than Doctor Strange is an incredible humiliation and embarrassment to Warner Brothers and DC. That is humiliating and embarrassing. People did not want to come watch Justice League. I mean, that's ultimately, forget the money, forget the dollar signs. What the box office told us is that people didn't want to come to see this movie anymore. The audience had given up on the DCEU. It is what it is. That's not opinion. That's black and white numerical fact. When more people wanted to come out to watch Doctor Strange, a character probably most of them had never even heard of, instead of coming to see the climax of your DCEU with Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Flash and all these characters, blah, blah, and they didn't want to come watch it, that is damning. That is supremely damning. So I don't know what the hell they think Aquaman's going to do. If the audience didn't come out to watch Aquaman with Batman and Superman, I don't know what they think the movie's going to do. So how many wins do they need? 3 straight. 3 critical, box office, and audience loved films in a row. Critically loved, box office loved, and audience loved. And it needs 3 of those movies in a row. And right now, they're 1 for 5. Wonder Woman did it. Wonder Woman was box office success, critic success, audience success. All the other them, none of the rest of them did it. Either critically hated, audience divisive. Some of them, like Suicide Squad, made pretty good money. Suicide Squad actually overperformed. It did good money. But only 1 out of the 5 DCEU films have done all 3. I don't know why we should sit here and anticipate that DC is now going to crush the next 3 in a row. But it's possible. If DC crushes the next 3 in a row, then you're back on good ground. Then winning cured everything. But I think you need 3 in a row. I really do at this point. Because you're not going to just win them all back with just 1 film with Aquaman. You're just not going to do it. You've lost too much of the audience. You got to win them back. And it's going to take a pattern of success to do it. So we'll see what happens. That's why I just think they should reboot the damn thing, man. Anyway, Hamza Hussein writes, are you familiar with Bollywood cinema? Any faves? Well, it's funny. Like when I was still at AMC, I would run over to the local AMC and catch a couple of them. And there were a couple of superhero ones. I'm forgetting the names of them because you guys might remember, I even talked about them on the show. I would say like, man, I just went to go see this Bollywood film and it was crazy. For the most part, I'm not very familiar with Bollywood films. I have a hard enough time keeping up just with the Hollywood ones, to be honest with you. So honestly, I'm not very familiar. The couple of times I've run to the theater to watch them, I've had fun. I mean, I really have. But I'm really not familiar or, you know, intimately related or understanding of the genre very much at this point. Maybe that'll change in the near future. Manuel Fernandez writes, which canon novels should I definitely read before seeing The Last Jedi to improve the experience? None. Honestly, I think you're perfectly fine. If you want to read the Phasma novel, I quite enjoy the novel. It's really good. But honestly, Lords of the Sith doesn't really tie into that at all. Tarkin doesn't really tie into that at all. Bloodline, Bloodlines maybe. Maybe you could read Bloodline, the one about Leia. That one might give some extra color. But honestly, I don't feel that you need to have read any of those books to really get any significant improvement of your enjoyment for Star Wars The Last Jedi. So I think you're good. But if you really wanted to read one, I would say either Phasma or Bloodline if you really want to read one before going into The Last Jedi. Hope that's helpful. All right. Let's see. Keith O'Neill writes, what was the penalty for breaking the embargo for The Last Jedi? Is Disney stricter than other studios? Well, it's the same with any studio. If you're a critic and the studio allows you, they're not obligated to let you come and watch an advanced screening. If the studio permits you to come to see an advanced screening so you can do a review and have a review ready for when the embargo lifts, then you are expected to honor that embargo. There's no legal ramifications per se. I mean, there used to be a day that you have to sign a contract as an embargo. They don't make you sign a contract anymore. Like, I don't show up to the theater and have to sign a document. It's just understood that they tell us there's an embargo date and we honor the embargo date. The punishment, like it would be for anything else, is if you break embargo, the studio's probably just going to look at you and go, so we're just not going to invite you to these press screenings anymore. We're not going to let you come. So now you're not going to be able to have your reviews ready for when the review embargo lifts. It's quite important. If a studio wanted to do that, they could do it. And look, I admit, there have been 2 times I've accidentally broken embargo. When I thought like it was like noon East Coast time, when it was actually noon Pacific time, and I ended up putting it up at 9 a.m. my time, thinking that it's noon East Coast time and that I was fine, and then getting frantic emails from publicists of the studio saying, John, you're breaking the embargo. I'm like, what are you talking about? You said noon East Coast. No, noon Pacific. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. And I have to run in there and take it down. That's happened twice over the past like 7 years or something. And then I pull my review down like immediately and it's gone, and that's fine. But I mean, so accidents happen, but like just blatantly breaking embargo, that can have some ramifications if you want to keep a good relationship with the studio. So that's kind of key. Let's see. Next question comes to us from John Wiles, who writes, been watching since the AMC days. Thank you so much. And in group discussions, you most often resonate my thoughts. Oh, that's good to know. Love Man of Steel and BVS 2. Keep up the great work. Oh, thank you so much, John, just for sending in that comment just to say something nice. Thank you, man. I appreciate that very, very much. All right. Ben Rayner's writing, if Disney buys Fox's assets, could they and would they reboot or make a Firefly sequel? Also, do you think they can get Joss back? I don't think you're going to see them do Firefly. Firefly's done. There was a window of time and opportunity for them to do Firefly again, for Firefly to come back, but look, the reality is people didn't watch the show when it was on. Now, it gained more of a following, including me. I became a big fan of the show after it was off the air. But I think they've done studies on it and really did some hardcore market data research, and they just realized, we don't think this would work. So could they do Firefly and Serenity again? I think they could if they wanted to, but I don't think that's likely. I really don't think that's possible. But who knows? Maybe we'll get pleasantly surprised. Next one comes to us from Lorna Chowdhury, who writes, "Hey John, I'd love to see you and your lovely lady do a show together." Well, it's difficult. My lovely lady, of course, is Anne. It's difficult because I do these shows when she is at her big important corporate job. I mean, she's a senior person over at Hasbro, and she's busy. She's at work when I'm here during the day doing this, so it's difficult for us to do shows together. Although she and I did come up with an idea for a show that maybe we'll try after we get back from Canada and the Christmas break. We're thinking about it, but it's tough because she has a full-time job that she works like 11-hour days on. So when she gets home, I just want to spend time with her. I don't want to get together now, do more work with her. I just want to relax and enjoy my time with her. But we've come up with an idea or two, and maybe we'll see it happen. I'll keep it under wraps for now. Thank you so much for the comment, though. K. Tra writes, Ryan Coogler or Damien Chazelle before Black Panther? Before Black Panther. Oh, Ryan Coogler. Look, I was a really, really big fan of both Fruitvale Station and of Creed. I just love those. And I'm a big fan of Damien Chazelle as well. Absolutely. But if I had to pick one, even before Black Panther, and I haven't seen Black Panther yet, I'm going Ryan Coogler. That's no disrespect to Damien whatsoever. He's fantastic. But I would put my money right now on Ryan. Although, who knows what I would say 4 years from now after we've seen a few more movies from both of these guys. All right. Ben Rayner writes in, just wanted to thank you for everything you do. So happy to support you. You're my favorite movie news guy. Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate it. And thank you for, I know you're one of my Patreon supporters. Thank you for that support as well, man. I really appreciate it. Manuel Fernandez writes, which comic book runs have you enjoyed the most this year? I thought DC Metal with Rebirth and the X-Men comics were great. Keep up the great work. Honestly, I haven't done a lot of this year's runs readings. A lot of the reading I've done have been from older runs. Like I've been reading Vaughn a lot, going back and reading a lot of the Runaways because I knew that show was coming up. I've been reading a lot of, basically a lot of the old stuff. Now, I did read the Batman Rebirth. I did read that. And I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't like Batman Rebirth. At least, like, the first storyline that they had. I didn't like it. Like, with that brother and sister thing. Like, I just thought it was bad storytelling, to be honest with you. And it kind of sucked all my enthusiasm out for trying any of the other Rebirth stuff. And then, hey, it has been a crazy year for me, right? I mean, changing jobs, starting up my own thing. I mean, it's been a little bit nuts, so I haven't had a ton of time. And what time I have had to just sit down and read comics, I've basically been reading older stuff. Oh, and I did a reread again of Age of Apocalypse, which was fantastic. I love, every like 3 or 4 years, I try to sit down and reread Age of Apocalypse, because it is my all-time favorite story arc in any comic book ever. It's my favorite, so there's that. All right, next question comes to us from Joe Rapazzo, who writes, what do you think about an over-the-top remake with The Rock and John Cena? Over-the-top, the Sylvester Stallone, like, arm wrestling film? First of all, I don't know that John Cena's ready to be a leading man, so there's that. The second thing is, I think that movie works okay in the 80s. I don't know if a movie about a truck driving arm wrestling competitor is all that appealing to the general movie-going audience today. I don't think that's a movie that makes money, and therefore I don't think it's a movie that gets made. So probably, if I'm a studio head, I probably don't greenlight that movie, to be honest with you. Thinking outside the box, though, Joe. All right, next question. Let's see. And Andy A. Hernandez, John Stepp is the next Wolverine. A little tall. maybe. I'll just say he's a little bit too tall for that. I'll leave it at that. Gene Checks writes, hello, John. Been a huge fan of yours since the movie blog days. Thank you so much. Hey, the movie blog days, that's going back a ways. Apparently, there's a new rumor that Stallone wants Brock Lesnar to be in Creed 2. Hoping it's not true. Well, I mean, it all depends, right? Like, look, I'm okay, just grab this quick. I'm okay with, like, a Brock Lesnar being in the movie if it's like an Ivan Drago role where he just needs to stand there and look menacing and do some physical stuff, but not talk. If you got a role like that for Brock Lesnar, I'm on board. Sure, why not? I got no problem with that. If it doesn't require him to actually do much acting and he just needs to stand there and be physical, yeah, then I don't see why not. I mean, it's not, if they came out and say Brock Lesnar is now going to be Sylvester Stallone's long-lost son, and then he's got to actually speak lines and act, okay, then I'm probably checking out of the movie. But just having him there, being a big, strong, massive guy who does some in-ring fighting and things like that, I don't see what's wrong with that. That could be fine if he doesn't have to speak. Of course, that's a big asterisk on that, if he doesn't have to speak. All right, we move on now to Fred Armando, who writes, what happened to that Rendezvous with Rama movie, Morgan Freeman was involved with? Do you think we'll ever get movies based on those great books? To be honest, off the top of my head, I can't even remember what we're talking about. To be honest with you, man, this is probably even a story I covered 5 years ago at AMC, and I'm drawing a blank. I cannot even remember. So the answer, Fred, to your question is I'm not sure. I know Morgan Freeman's got that new movie coming out with Tommy Lee Jones, and that looks interesting. That could be funny, could be kind of lame, but it also could be pretty funny. So I'm keeping my eyes open for that. I got to, of course, spend some time with Morgan Freeman about 2.5 years ago in Las Vegas when he was doing Last Vegas, which was a great time. That was one of the biggest thrills of my life. I got to sit in a room with Robert De Niro, Michael Douglas, Morgan Freeman, and, why am I forgetting Kevin's name? I'm forgetting Kevin's name. Unbelievable. The guy... I love the guy, and I'm forgetting his life. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, that's the love of doing these videos live. But as far as this movie, Rendezvous with Rama, I do not remember it off the top of my head. Sorry about that, man. Let's see. Kevin Kline. That's the name. Kevin Kline. Why did I forget Kevin Kline? Okay, anyway. This next one comes to us from John1913-8, who writes, great show. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Screen Rant posted that Disney might not be getting the rights to Fantastic Four in a deal. Thoughts? Link in the comments. Well, first of all, Screen Rant used to be a great site. When it was run by this guy, the founder of the site, Vic Holterman. And I have a good relationship with Vic. I think Vic is a great guy. And I think he ran that site. And he had a wonderful team, including Kofi Annan, who's now... Where's Kofi at now? Kofi is the editor-in-chief of another site now. But Kofi used to work with Vic. Rob was over there. And just a great team at Screen Rant, and I love that site. Vic sold it to a corporation, and since then it's become, I mean, you know what, I'm not going to sit here and talk crap about the site. I just say it's no longer one of my favorite sites. Anyway, I addressed the Fantastic Four thing a little bit earlier in this video. So if you go back, once this live stream is done, go back and watch the section where I talk about it. I do reference the fact that they wrote a story, and I go into great detail about it. So I'm not going to repeat it all here, but you'll just go back in the video and watch that part. You'll see what I had to say about that. Thanks a lot. Let's see. Manuel Fernandez writes, with news making us worried and scared, whether it's net neutrality, Alabama, Trump, etc., I'm so happy that we have someone like you to give us hope about the future. Thanks for being the light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, thanks, man. Well, you know what? You're right. Whole lot of stuff going on in the world. That is one of the great things about movies. Movies is more than just an escape. But movies are also great escapes, and they're really great things that we can get away from all the other garbage that goes on in the world, even if we come from different political points of view, and just celebrate the movies together. That's one of the most fun things in the world. So thanks a lot for the comment, Manuel. Kevin Newman writes in, and I lost Kevin there for a second. Let's see if I can find him. So, hey guys, listen, I got to ask you, please send in no more. Do not send in any more super chat questions. I'm going to cap them out. I'm going to try to get through the rest of them before the top of the hour, but please don't send in any more. All right, going on now. Kevin Newman wrote in. Going to Scotiabank Theatre. I love Scotiabank Theatre. I've been there many times in Toronto. I'm going to Scotiabank Theatre to see 18-hour Star Wars marathon tomorrow. You mentioned once you had a favorite theater in Ontario. Mine used to be the Uptown on Yonge before closing down. Now it's the Colossus in Vaughan. Mine is actually the Cineplex in Ancaster, Ontario. The big Cineplex there with the big grand entrance and all that kind of stuff. It's been there for a long time. It's been there for years, but it is still my favorite place in the world because I've been going to see movies there since I was in my 20s. And there's something really special about when I get to go to watch a movie there. So I hope it's not torn down, but it was still there last year. So hopefully it's still there because I want to go watch some movies there when I go back home for Christmas. But that's my favorite movie theater in the world. Is that Cineplex in Ancaster. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, man. John K writes, The Last Jedi better than Logan. Where does it rank for the year? No. There, I said it. No. Look, Star Wars The Last Jedi is awesome. It's awesome. But I am not ready to put it above Logan on my best of the year list. Not ready to put it above there. Star Wars The Last Jedi is going to fit into my top 10 of the year list, but as far as where my top 10, I haven't put my top 10 together yet, so I can't tell you that. But I can tell you that Logan, I think Logan is just such a special movie. To me, it might still be the best movie of the year. It's either that or Darkest Hours, but I still have a couple more I need to see. But I'm not ready to say The Last Jedi is better than Logan. It doesn't need to be better than Logan to be spectacular, because it is spectacular, but I don't know that I'm ready to put it above Logan. That's just me. A lot of you may put it well above Logan. I mean, for sure. All film is subjective, but I'm not ready to put it above Logan. Doesn't matter how hardcore of a Star Wars fan I am. I still have to call it like I see it. Let's see. Javardi writes, to me, Star Wars will always be George Lucas's world. Disney may own the brand, but they will never be George. The Last Jedi isn't really a true Star Wars movie. Dude, you are entitled to your opinion, and that's great. You are entitled to your opinion. It is all subjective. This movie is a fuck lot more Star Wars than those garbage prequels were. All right, Star Wars The Last Jedi is a fuckload more Star Wars than those prequels garbages ever were. And look, you know me, I worship at the altar of George Lucas. Absolutely. The man is a god. I worship at his feet. Absolutely. But let's not pretend that everything he did was white as the pure driven snow. He gave us those abominations which are known as the prequels that were not Star Wars. I mean, they are Star Wars, they're canon, they're Star Wars, they are, but they are not the spirit of Star Wars like what he gave us in the original trilogy. Star Wars The Last Jedi is far more Star Wars than those prequel movies every day. Again, I'm not telling you to change your mind. You've got your opinion, and that's awesome. That's the beautiful thing about us being film fans, so we can all have different opinions. My opinion very strongly is one thing, your opinion is very strong or another, and yet we're still co-fans together, and that's the great thing about the movies. All right, thanks a lot for the comment, Jay. All right, next one comes to us from John1913-8. Sorry for the duplicate in your vid, downside live vid. Not quite sure what you mean, John, but thank you for the comment anyway. KW Garrett 83 writes, love the new show and all the content you put out. Thank you so much, KW. Not important, but where are the gunner glasses? Yeah, the gunner glasses may be coming out again. Like, I have been trying, for those of you who might remember back in when I would do mailbag and things like that, and even doing this show, I would often wear the gunner glasses with the yellow tint. It's because I've got 3 massive monitors in front of me. I do get eye strain, and I'm not going to lie to you, I get headaches every day. When I'm done this show, I get headaches every day. But I wouldn't get them when I wore the gunner glasses. The problem is I kept getting people complaining about the gunner glasses. Number one, because they didn't like the look of them, and I get it because they look goofy. But number two, also because, and I understand this too, like my monitors would reflect in the glasses, and depending on what angle I would hold my head at, sometimes you could see my eyes, and a lot of times you couldn't see my eyes because of reflection. And some people like, oh, John, use this app because it changes the tint in your monitors and stuff like that, and I just found that didn't work for me. I've been thinking about breaking out the gunners again because I'm not lying, like every day, I have to go, after I'm done the show, I have to just go sit on the couch for a while and wait about 15 or 20 minutes for the eye strain fatigue and all that kind of stuff to pass, because it really does give me a headache. So thank you so much. It's nice to know you care and you're asking about them. I might break those glasses out again pretty soon. All right, let's see. Got to fly through a couple more here. Matt Guillemette writes, do you credit... Oh, did you cry at the end of Logan? No, I did not. I've only cried ever in like 5 movies in history. But as a man, it gets you right here. You get a little choked up. I mean, yes, I got a little choked up at the end of Logan. Because, not just because of the movie, but because, oh my goodness, I've been watching this guy play like Logan for 15 plus years. And then the end of Logan comes, and you realize, I'm not going to see him as Logan anymore. It's a little there, but I didn't cry. I didn't cry. Let's see. Angel Chang writes, I believe an Eminem biopic would be very successful with Corey Hawkins reprising his role as Dr. Dre from Straight Outta Compton. Your thoughts? I'm not so sure. I think maybe if that movie came out 5 years ago, maybe an Eminem biopic 5 years ago might have been a little bit more successful. I mean, you could say that 8 Mile is kind of an Eminem biopic on its own. So I'm not quite so sure how successful it would be today. It's an intriguing thought. Look, you make that movie for a low enough budget, it could be profitable. It could. I wouldn't bring people back and make... Just because one guy played Dr. Dre once, that doesn't mean he's the only guy who can ever play Dr. Dre. I wouldn't try to make a cinematic universe out of it at all. Just make a new movie with a new cast, and I think you'd be fine. All right, thanks a lot for the comment, Angel. Next one comes to us from Abraxas616, who writes, you often say that no director should stay on one property for too long. Question, Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy. Is The Last Jedi that good? I'm thrilled that he's doing a trilogy. I won't, though, be surprised at all if we find out that he doesn't actually direct all 3. I'm not going to be surprised at all if we find out he doesn't direct all 3. Maybe he's the executive producer of them all, and he oversees the script development of them all, and he comes up with the basic story, but I am not going to be shocked to find out that he's not actually directing all 3. So we got some time to think about it, but yeah, I think the rule even applies to Rian Johnson. As much as I love Rian Johnson, and as great as The Last Jedi is, I don't want to see one director stay on one property for too long. I think that's a detriment to the property. I think it's a detriment to the director as well. The director needs to stay sharp creatively, and that means doing different types of storytelling instead of just staying on one property. And I think we've seen many examples of negative effects of that happening over the course of film history. So, but again, I don't think Rian Johnson's going to direct all 3. I think he'll be in charge of all 3, but not necessarily direct. Who knows, though? We'll find out for sure. Gerardo Reyes just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Gerardo. I appreciate that. Daniel Briggs writes, if the MCU don't make a Chris Evans Johnny Storm joke, what was the point in all this? Do not laugh. I was thinking the same thing. And you know what's funny? Because I made this thumbnail, right? I made this thumbnail for today's show, which is, we've got the new cast of Fantastic Four up there at the top, right? But in my sidebar, I put the old cast, and I remember when I was looking at the picture, I remember thinking to myself, damn, I wonder if they'll, like, actually have, like, some kind of reference or joke about Chris Evans saying, I don't know, maybe Captain America will say something, and just in joking, someone will go, hey man, flame on, or something like that. It would be kind of fun. It would be a neat little wink and a nod to the audience if they did that. Okay, rounding out the last few questions here. Let's see. Jay Kapoor writes, I think X-Men and Fantastic Four can be worked into the MCU. It's possible. It's probably even likely. I just think the MCU, as much as I love it, is already becoming an overcrowded, convoluted mess. Do you really want to throw 18, 20, 40 more characters into it? I don't know, man. I love the idea you can have more creative storytelling if you keep them in separate universes. You can have far more creative storytelling. Keep Fantastic Four and X-Men in one universe, the MCU in another universe, and I think you can have some amazing storytelling and without it getting overcrowded. But I think, Jay, that it is most likely that they will just bring them into the MCU. I think it's a mistake, but I think it's what they're going to do. So I think you're right. Cruz 17 writes, do you think the Infinity War trailer affected Justice League? No, not at all. Not at all. Not in the least. Besides, I think the Justice League or Infinity War trailer came out after Justice League opened. Justice League opened pathetic with 94 million. Most movies, 94 million opening is great. For Justice League, when an Avengers movie is opening to over 200 million and your Justice League movie can't even open to 100 million, the trailer didn't affect it at all. Don't worry about that. The trailer wouldn't affect it. Alan Gonzalez Cordova writes, should I take my lightsaber to the movie? No, do not take your lightsaber to the movie. Most movie theaters now will not let you bring that kind of stuff in, just out of safety worries and things like that, right? Which is totally understandable. So don't take any big props. Don't have a mask on. Don't wear full face makeup. It's okay if you want to put a Jedi robe. Just make sure your face isn't covered. Don't bring a lightsaber. They will probably confiscate that from you. So just be aware of that kind of stuff, because obviously safety first, right? Safety first. Let's see. Jai Tuip writes, if and when Fantastic Four goes to the MCU, do you think Disney will give Josh Trank a chance and not interfere as much as they did at Fox? No, because remember, Josh Trank already was with Disney. He was supposed to do a Boba Fett movie. He was supposed to do a Star Wars movie, and that Star Wars movie was going to be a Boba Fett movie. And Disney parted ways with him. So, no, I don't think there's any chance we'll see Josh Trank come back for that. Which is too bad, because I love Josh Trank. I really do. I do not believe any of Fantastic Four was his fault, especially when you look at how great his storytelling sensibilities are as a director when you watch Chronicle. This dude's gifted. I really want to see him direct another film. A lot. But I don't think it's going to be with Disney. All right. Raphael Cervantes just puts in a super chat. Thank you so much, Raphael. Brett Buckles writes, any scenes in The Last Jedi that hold their own up against the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One? I don't even want to answer that. Even just answering that yes or no could be considered a spoiler. So you know what? I'm going to bite my tongue until Sunday. Sunday I will do a full live review, spoiler review, where I get to talk really openly and answer questions like that. But for now, just in case somebody would consider that a spoiler, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on that for now. All right. Lance Pro 85 writes, hey John, Marvel once said that they want to keep Spider-Man as Peter to pay respect to the creator of the original vision. Is it possible that an MCU X-Men could be the original 5 X-Men and no Wolverine yet? Oh, it's totally possible. That's completely possible. When they start up, whatever their X-Men are going to look like, whether it's in the MCU, separate from the MCU, with the existing Fox cast, with the brand new cast, whatever, it's totally understandable and totally feasible that they start off without a Wolverine. That they start off by kind of honoring what happened in that Logan movie, give it 2 or 3 years, and then introduce the new Wolverine. That's totally possible. I don't know if it's likely. I think they'll probably want to come out of the gate with Wolverine, but I think it is completely possible, so I think you're completely right about that. All right. Let's see. We've got Captain Frankfurter who writes, do you think, where'd it go? Marvel left the door open for the Avengers Tower to either become Oscorp or the Baxter Building? I really don't think, honestly, I think we as fans read way too much into little things like that. And that was probably never even a part of serious discussions on anybody. It was probably just, oh, could it be fun to have this in the background? Sure. I mean, it probably didn't go beyond that. I don't think it meant anything. And I think we as fans sometimes read a little bit too much into that. I know I do that. I think we all do that a little bit. So honestly, I think we're reading a little bit too much into that. All right. Nikki Baldwin writes, saved a couple of bucks on lunch, yay Taco Tuesdays, and figured I'd send some your way. Love the show, watch every day. Oh, thank you so much, Nikki. I really appreciate that. Now I can go get a taco for Taco Tuesdays. Thank you so much. Nathan writes, with no spoilers, does The Last Jedi reference the prequels? Somebody asked me that question in the live review that I did. And I asked the viewers, do you think me answering this would be a spoiler? And they all said no. So, with no spoilers, does The Last Jedi reference the prequels? Not that I saw. And maybe they are in there and I just didn't catch it, but I saw no references to the prequels, really. At least nothing obvious or overt that I can remember off the top of my head. So my answer to that question is no. Donnie Yasu writes, do you feel like DC is wasting The Rock? He is made for the comic book genre and it feels like he's being wasted since his movie is nowhere to be seen. Hey, look, man, Donnie, if you clearly watch me, so you know I have my opinions about what a tank dumpster fire everything at Warner Brothers is right now as it pertains to the DCEU. I think they are unorganized. I don't think they have the slightest clue what their plans are. I don't think they have the slightest clue what the direction is. I think their leadership is divided. Their leadership can't even agree upon which direction to go. We've seen that with the infighting over Zack Snyder and the back and forth over which direction Justice League should go. They're announcing this movie, then they're announcing that movie, then they go back to these movies. It's just, I honestly think it's a dumpster fire over there. I think they're doing a lot of things wrong, one of which is they announced The Rock was going to be in the DCEU 3 or 4 years ago. And here we are, with still no release date of The Rock being in any DCEU movie. It's a mess. They are a dumpster fire over there right now. And it saddens me, because I love them. Geek Out Loud. I love the way you spell that, Geek Out Loud. Jackman as Aussie accented Beta Ray Bill in Thor 4. I don't think so. No, I don't think you're going to see that happen. But, I mean, I'll admit, I was really surprised that we didn't get a full Beta Ray Bill character in Thor Ragnarok. Like, I wasn't surprised that we didn't get him in Thor 1. But if you had asked me 10 years ago, or like 6 years ago, hey, the Thor trilogy, are we going to get Beta Ray Bill somewhere in the Thor trilogy? I would have said, yeah, 100%. And so I'm kind of surprised that we did, but I don't think we're going to see Hugh Jackman playing that role. That seems like a little bit of a waste of Hugh Jackman's talents. Last 3 questions. Matthias Peterson writes, come on, Warner Brothers, and give Henry Cavill the Superman movie he deserves. Greetings from Denmark, Europe. Been following you for a few years. Thank you so much, Matthias. Completely agree. You notice that in that new rundown of the new DC lineup, no Man of Steel 2, no Superman. Yeah, whatever. He's just the most popular, most recognizable comic book character of all time. Nope, no plans for him. No plan. We'll do Batgirl, sure. We'll do another Suicide Squad, sure, that the critics and audiences didn't even really like. We're going to do another one of these, but no, Superman? No, of course not. Don't be silly. We're not going to do Superman. That would be dumb. Anyway, thanks for the question. Dren Chin writes, what should the DCEU learn from the MCU and vice versa? I think mainly it's this. Like, movies are movies are movies. The main thing the DCEU needs to learn from the MCU is this. Have a united leadership that has a clear focus and a clear direction that everybody in leadership is on board with walking towards. Your movies are going to be a mess if your leadership's a mess. And clearly the leadership over there is a mess. The leadership of the MCU, everybody's on the same page. They have a clear, distinct direction and vision. They have a singular voice in Kevin Feige being kind of the captain of the ship, under, of course, Bob Iger and Alan Horn and things like that as well. But that's where it starts. When you've got a messy house like Warner Brothers does with their DC thing, that you got 18 different guys calling decisions and infighting, can't decide, do we have this guy back, do we not, blah, blah, and all can't decide the direction of one of their movies, let alone their entire DCEU. The biggest lesson they need to learn is to get in some leadership that can be united and head in the same direction. Until that happens, the I'm sorry guys, we can have all the hope in the world for Aquaman and Wonder Woman 2, whatever, but until that happens, 3 out of every 4 of their films are going to be a mess. Until they get their leadership house in order, everything they do is going to be a mess. And last question today, right on time basically. De Bear du Zeus, the Beard of Zeus, writes, Warner Brothers / DC wants to make Suicide Squad 2, Gotham City Sirens, but not Man of Steel 2. Why? Partial brain seizure? That's honestly, that's all I got for you. Partial brain seizure. Collectively, over at the Warner Brothers offices. I mean, that's all I got for you at this point as to what could be their rationale over there. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today, for this episode of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for joining me, not just for this show, but also for the 9 a.m. show when we did the review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. In case you missed it, my review for Star Wars The Last Jedi is up on my channel right now. You can go check that out. And of course, we were just so happen to be lucky enough that the review embargo for Star Wars The Last Jedi happened to lift on Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. So Star Wars Talk Tuesday is, of course, coming up a little bit later today. Keep your eye on my social media. I think we're aiming for about a 2 o'clock start time, where all we're going to do is talk about Star Wars. I got a feeling a bunch of you guys are going to want to talk a little bit about Star Wars The Last Jedi too. We'll definitely talk about more of that. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions. Thank you to all you guys who joined live or were in the chat board. And a thank you to all you guys just for being my friends. Is that the Golden Girls theme? Thank you for being a friend. Anyway, that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.